Welcome back to New Rockstars, I'm Erik Voss, and the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer is an endless treasure trove of intrigue and detail that now that many of us are able to see that salt in Doctor Strange's salt and pepper beard and a big-ass IMAX screen aspect ratio, I have spotted 12 new clues and Easter eggs, many of which have completely changed the way I am looking at this film. So I'm gonna break down all the new stuff I found, because I know you can't get enough of this. Okay, on the rooftop on MJ's New York Post reading Spider-Man and his Spider Minions, you can also see the text at the bottom of the page, his hypnotic spider sense. This actually might be the first explicit mention of Spidey Sense or Spider Sense in the MCU, one of his more somewhat downplayed powers in the MCU compared to past iterations of Peter Parker, but in this context spun as if Peter Parker had mind control powers, which he does not, but he does later let his guilt over gaslighting MJ cause him to tamper with Doctor Strange's spell. I also think it's worth noting Peter's shoes. He wears the Jordan 1 Hyper Crimsons here and for most scenes in the trailer, but in specific other shots, like when Doctor Strange astral pushes his soul from his spider-suited body and when he armors up on the car, he wears blue Vans old schools. Now sure, a kid can have two pairs of shoes, but Shawshank Redemption made me shoe paranoid. And since Peter in those latter scenes is wearing the same outfit as Tobey Maguire Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3, his wardrobe could be a hint to the way Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield might appear in this film as souls swapping into different spider bodies. Now, a little detail, but a fun one, as Peter swings MJ through Times Square, she covers his eyes with her hand and with her hair so that they almost smack into one of those screens showing his face from J. Jonah Jameson's Daily Bugle broadcast. But then one big confirmation from this IMAX cut. When Peter gets interrogated by the Department of Damage Control agents, the hairy set of arms who slams case files in front of Peter that some thought was Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock, but I didn't think so, we can now see this guy's face, and it is definitely not Charlie Cox. In fact, it's the same actor who plays the bearded DODC agent. He's just taken off his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. Now, this does not rule out Charlie Cox from cameoing elsewhere in the film. This just is not him here. Then in MJ's room, I pointed out that drawing of Coach Wilson that she drew back in Spider-Man Homecoming as part of her collection of people in crisis. But also from that collection is a sketch of Peter with a dark cloud over his head, kind of like the curse that follows him in this movie and literally takes the form of a lightning storm with attacks from Electro. Then onto the Sanctum Sanctorum. When Wang opens the portal to leave, he is definitely headed to Kamar-Taj, by the way. I pointed this out before, but yeah, that stone structure is the same one that is in the Kamar-Taj training yard. He's not on his way to Macau to spar with Abomination and Shang-Chi, or to that holding facility that Abomination was in. But I do like some nice VFX details. The sparks from the portal bounce on the surfaces. It's just really cool to see all the VFX interacting with the real world. And behind Doctor Strange, that vase above the fireplace has begun to thaw out from the heat, just showing that whatever caused this sanctum to freeze over, it's not a permanent curse. It really does seem like a freak spell gone awry that might connect with a theory that I have later on in this video. Hey, but real quick, you know what's more fun than blowing up weaponized robots? Blowing them up with your friends! Mech Arena is a tactical shooter that lets you play in fun 2 vs 2 or 5 vs 5 matches and tournaments with your friends. There are a ton of cool mechs to pick from. One I really like is the Guardian. He is slow and plotting, but homeboy packs a really big punch and can shut down opponents' skills. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum is Shadow. He's super fast and elusive, but has a ninja-like stealth ability to sneak around enemies. There's just so many options in this game, from which mechs to use, to how you gear them, to what skins you have on them. No matter how you play, it's fun to mix it up and blow some stuff up. And there are a load of events happening in-game this month where you can get a bunch of awesome weapons, including the new disc launcher. There's also a ton of Halloween events to take part in and Halloween skins to win. Don't want to miss out on the great login rewards program. It's completely free to play on Android and iOS right now, and you can use our link or scan the QR code to get 1 Forest digital skin, 200 A-coins, and 10,000 credits to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add us as friends, and we can play some matches together. So don't wait around. When Strange begins his spell, I did point out before how his bowl contains these animal figurines, like an elephant, a ram, and then either an owl or a lion. But a new detail, as the spell progresses apparently, there is a new figurine that gets added to this, a stout 4-legged figure that at first I thought could be a Di Zhang, like Morris from Shang-Chi, but looking at it from a different angle, it does seem to have a longer snout that does make it look like an alligator. Gator Loki confirmed? There's also a long bird feather on the rim over on the right there. I wonder if each of these animal representations could link with the villains that get sucked into this reality, since there seem to be about 5 or 6 of them. Then when Doctor Strange conjures his runic bands, at one point he zips a piece of magic back into his hand and reads the runes on it, as if he is checking to see if this is a correct reality script he wants to use to paper over Peter's current condition. Kind of the way He Who Remains read his sacred timeline like a script. Now, famously, director Jon Watts loves to hide Easter eggs in the license plates of his Spider-Man movies. In my experience, really the only Marvel director who actually does this, because otherwise really any number you see on screen can refer to any random comic issue. But Watts is the one who actually is deliberate about it. And in the shot of Peter in the Iron Spider armor, on the blue VW to the right, the tag number is 1963-03. That is for the Amazing Spider-Man number 3 in the year 1963, the famous issue when Spider-Man first faced Dr. Octopus in the comics, as Peter is doing in this scene. And that's not all, folks. On the black Kia behind Peter, the tag number is MTU2174, which struck my eye because in Spider-Man Far From Home, MTU was used on another license plate reference, and it stands for Marvel Team Up number 21 in 1974, in which Spider-Man teams up with Doctor Strange. It's an interesting storyline, because an old sorcerer named Xandu hypnotizes Peter into stealing the crystal Cadavus from the Sanctum, and uses that crystal to regenerate the Wand of Watum to resurrect his wife. Xandu ends up transporting Peter and Strange into another dimension where he marionettes them all together, and Strange gets out of it by using a spell that allows Peter to fire mystical blasts from his hands. Now, of course, the bigger comics parallel for this movie is probably gonna be Spider-Man One More Day from 2007 and its follow-up story, One Moment in Time, but there are definitely some parallels with this Marvel team-up story, with Strange giving Peter a new black and gold suit in this movie that allows him to whip magic from his hands, and this whole idea of characters being stuck under hypnosis. I just won't be surprised if the reason Strange so brazenly helps Peter with a dangerous spell is that he could be under a kind of mind control. If not by someone like Mephisto, I'm not always gonna go there, maybe the Scarlet Witch, as she tries to spin the multiverse more and more out of control in search of her kids. In fact, Wanda's control over Strange could be why the Sanctum is frozen to begin with. Now, something else is going on with this shot of Peter looking at the woman in the car, but she's actually not just any extra or a placeholder asset masking anything. This is actress Paula Newsome from CSI Vegas and Barry on HBO. She's likely playing some bigger role in the story, maybe a S.H.I.E.L.D. or DODC agent, or the DA legally targeting Peter. Now, for this last point, I'm gonna discuss some new stuff we learned in the post-credits scene of Venom Let There Be Carnage, so if you have not seen that movie yet, spoiler warning, actually feel free to stop watching now. Okay, the Venom Carnage post-credits scene transported Venom to the MCU through a kind of reality warp, and he's now reacting to the Daily Bugle broadcast about Peter Parker, and the big implication being that Venom might appear in Spider-Man No Way Home. So I wanted to re-examine that shot of Peter in what I assume is a magical containment facility. I actually believe the green cube artifact that we see in the trailer. The moment when Peter spins around as something swipes at a barrier separating them, I said this was the Lizard, Rhys Ifans' Dr. Connors from the 2012 Amazing Spider-Man. Some others are now making a case for Venom, but if you look closely, you can clearly see this guy has a lizard tail switching behind him. Venom has no tail. However, Venom could very well be the 6th villain of the Sinister Six lineup, and or one who switches teams to side with Peter, because something fishy is going on with Doctor Strange, folks. And Eddie's hotel furniture checkerboard flipping into a new reality just looks to me too much like Wanda Maximoff jigsawing her Hex reality into existence, as well as her chaotically redecorating her living spaces, for me to rule her out as the one pulling the strings of the guy the Darkhold just told her she's more powerful than. So Doctor Strange and Venom, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, the others, and Peter Parker and his variants all could be pawns of the Scarlet Witch's game as we head into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let me know your thoughts down below, and you can support New Rockstars by checking out our merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow and subscribe to New Rockstars. Thanks for watching. Bye.